Hello everyone, back to today's third video. So, we've already done snow watch, did that this morning, and there's going to be a substantial fall of snow, I think, tomorrow morning across northern England, and also going up towards the southwest of Scotland. If you're in that area, and you're planning to travel about tomorrow morning, do check out the severe weather warnings from UK Met Office, because I believe there's an amber weather alert which has been issued for snow for parts of northern England tomorrow by the UK Met Office. We don't issue severe weather warnings at Glasgow because we aren't qualified to do that. The place to go if you are in any doubt or have any concern about your safety in terms of any weather situation, be it snow or any other weather situation, is always the UK Met Office. They are the experts in advising you with your safety. So do have a look at the severe weather warnings at the UK Met Office. It looks like it's going to be a big dump of snow tomorrow across northern England. We did cover it in Snow Watch this morning. You can find that video on the Snow Watch page. Here on the home page, you just scroll down a little bit, you'll find today's second video update. That would have a look at the weather next week. To 10 days takes us more or less to the end of the first week of January. And going to be more cold and unsettled weather coming up over the next week to 10 days. Have a look at that. It's just above the show desk. And then to round it all off, we are going to be having our GFS Ensembles Watch. So we haven't done one of these for a while. I'm going to run you through the first week or two of January 2018. For today's third video with the GFS Ensembles. There are 21 members of the GFS Ensembles and 22 if we include the operational run of the GFS. So we'll see if we can pick up any trends through this early part of January. As I say, we go more or less around the middle of the month actually now with the extended GFS going to around the 13th, 14th of January, I think. So I'm going to run you through in a second. We're going to start off, however, looking at the operational run of the GFS. So this is like the highest resolution member of the GFS Ensembles. It's one we use in the videos every day. So beginning on New Year's Day, where it looks pretty cold and showery, to be honest, as low pressure goes to the country. I'll bring down relatively cool air from the North Atlantic as well. So pretty cool, pretty showery on New Year's Day with tonight's operational GFS. We go through next week and it stays unsettled. We do pull up some mild air, particularly into the south, through the middle part of next week. This is covered in today's second video. But then as we go to the second half of next week, you start to pull down these colder northwesterly, northwesterly winds again. So this is the 5th of January, when we are putting down quite a cold northwesterly then. And that cold weather continues into the first weekend of January. This takes us to day 10, Sunday 7th of January, with this low pressure coming down across the country. There could be wintry weather in with that, particularly in the northern and eastern part of the country. Going out beyond the day 10 period, we find low pressure comes back in from off the Atlantic. Notice high pressure having a go at building up over Scandinavia. That's quite interesting, of course, on this particular GFS when it doesn't really come to anything because the Atlantic remains quite buoyant, so it quickly pushes that ridge back. We go to the 11th of January, bringing low pressure through the country. That's got wet weather in the south, maybe some snow in the north. Then following behind from that, we get another northerly shock coming along there on the 12th. We finish up on Saturday the 13th of January. That's as far as we can go with GFS at the moment, with high pressure to our south and milder westerly winds are coming through the country. I suspect if we could go on another day or two, we will find that another shot of cold air will come down from the north and northwest. That looks like it's lining things up for another shot of cold air from the north by, let's say, the 15th of January. But that's as far as we can go anyway with the GFS. So, GFS operational. So let's have a look at the ensemble members then. We're going to start off with the control member of the GFS Ensemble. So this particular member is run at a slightly lower resolution compared to the operational run, the run we're just looking at, but it's at a higher resolution compared to all other ensemble members. We're going to start on the 5th of January, because that's when it looks like we start to pull in some more cold air. So this is how things are looking on the 5th of January with the control member of the GFS Ensembles. And we find that we've got low pressure diving in here from the north and the northwest. So again, same idea, cold air is pushing down across the country as we go through this weekend of the 6th and 7th of January. There could well be some wintry weather in with that. That's how things look on day 10, 7th of January, pulling down these cold northerly winds. Notice a bit of a ridge is building up to the north of Scandinavia. So running out into the second week of January, what happens if these areas of low pressure start to try and come in from off the Atlantic, but they are coming in to cold air. So this actually looks quite snowy. It's not desperately cold, but look how these areas of low pressure moving in off the Atlantic and sort of going northwest to southeast. The jet stream, the black line here indicating the jet stream, that is to our south. So here on the 9th of January, for example, we've got low pressure to our southwest. That could well be bringing some snow there to southern parts of the country into the second week of January. We just sort of keep this northwest to southeast tilt to the jet stream going. So consequently, these areas of low pressure continue to move in from the northwest to the southeast, and each one of these could be bringing rain to the south and the west, but also snow to the north and the east. So it doesn't look particularly dramatic, but actually that is quite a snowy run, I think, the Control GFS Ensemble member tonight. Right, ensemble member number 1 looks like this. Gale force winds on the 5th of January. I'm going to run you through these as quick as I can. So we go through to the weekend of the 6th and 7th of January. That low pressure sinks southwards across the country, brings some quite cold air, maybe some wintry conditions with it. Then we find low pressure having a go at coming in from off the Atlantic, but doesn't really pull it off, and we find high pressure building in. Notice we've got a ridge going up towards Scandinavia. It isn't pushing us into an easy wind, but it is quite cold and mainly dry and frosty there going into the second week of January. Then low pressure comes back in from off the Atlantic. That could be bringing some wintry weather too, and we finish up looking like that on the 13th of January. Low pressure is sliding away into Central Europe, and we're turning wings into the east. So that's quite a cold and wintry member, ensemble member number 1. Number 2 looks like this, wet and windy on the 5th of January. We go through to that weekend of the 6th and the 7th, keeping it quite cold and unsettled. We run through into the second week of January, and it stays generally really quite unsettled with these areas of low pressure coastal country. I don't think this is as wintry as the first two ensemble members we were just looking at, but overall similar trends. The jet stream is aligned northwest to southeast. These areas of low pressure could be bringing in a mix of rain or snow, would depend on the exact area that those two air masses meet as to who gets rain and who gets snow. Notice again, relatively high pressure building up over Scandinavia. That's how ensemble member number 3 looks. That looks very wintry for as early as the 5th of January. That's bringing a snow event to southern parts of the country. The wind turns into the north and the northwest as we go through the weekend of 6th, 7th of January, so that's bringing more cold and unsettled weather. Then we get this area of low pressure diving to our south. That could be bringing a blizzard, can you believe, across parts of England and Wales. That's a very wintry looking situation indeed. Heavy rain or maybe heavy snow with gale force east to northeasterly winds affecting many parts of England and Wales. That clears out of the way, but we keep it quite unsettled, not as cold, but this low pressure is close to the country, bringing further showers along the spells of rain. That's quite a wintry one, ensemble member number 3. Ensemble member number 4 looks very unsettled on the 5th of January. Let's run you through that weekend of the 6th and the 7th. Not particularly wintry this, but it is fairly chilly, and we bring further areas of low pressure in off the Atlantic. Notice high pressure is having a go, building up over Scandinavia as well. It doesn't really do a great deal for us until we get to around the 11th, 12th, when it looks like the Atlantic is starting to run out of steam a little bit. But overall, we stay quite westerly with that, albeit again the jet stream is aligned northwest to southeast. It's not as wintry as some of the ensemble members we've looked at, but there is wintry potential in with that one. Ensemble member number 5 looks wet and windy to start off with on the 5th of January. We go through to that weekend of the 6th and the 7th. We pull down cold air from the north, so that's turning us colder, maybe some snow in that as well. Then the high pressure is going up to Scandinavia. There it goes by the 9th. We've got 1,035 millibar ridge of high pressure over Scandinavia. Will we get an easterly wind from that? Well, it certainly is warding off the Atlantic, and actually, yes, the wind is turning into the east as we go through to the second week of January. This one is placing us, albeit it's rather flabby and not desperately cold, but it is placing us in an easterly flow there on ensemble member number 5 for the second week of January. Ensemble member number 6 looks very unsettled to start off with on the 5th of January. Let's go through and see what happens with this one. So this one looks very stormy, and we don't really get that colder weekend either on the 6th and the 7th, just keeping it very stormy, very unsettled up to the second week of January. However, we're going to the 11th, and the winds are turning into the north here as that low pressure clears away to the east, so some wintry potential with that in the second week of January. This is ensemble member number 7. This one looks very unsettled and quite cold as we're going through the weekend of the 6th and the 7th of January. We've got high pressure building to our north, which is turning the winds into the northeast. So this one looks quite a cold one, very frosty. We are bringing in easterly winds as well. Then by the 11th, the Atlantic is having a go, and that could be producing snow, of course, as it's coming up against that high pressure over Scandinavia. And never truly breaking the Atlantic through. It probably is a bit milder there by the 13th, but overall that high pressure is still in over Scandinavia, and particularly from the south and the east, I think it's still quite cold. This is ensemble member number 8. This one looks very unsettled and quite cold as we're going through the weekend of the 6th and the 7th of January. Then low pressure is trying to move in from off the Atlantic. Notice all the ridging up to our northeast, so this low pressure, it's quite mild at this point on the 10th of January, but we aren't far away from getting cold air coming in from the east. What's going to happen with this one? Let's run through to the end of the run. And we just keep it generally quite mild and unsettled. This is a milder ensemble member, albeit with quite a lot of high pressure to our north and northeast, but it just isn't quite strong enough to push that low pressure away. Ensemble member number 9 looks unsettled and quite cold through the weekend of the 6th and the 7th of January. Then we're turning things quite stormy there, with the winds eventually turning into the north, so becoming quite cold as well. No build of pressure over Scandinavia on this one, so this is very Atlantic driven update, albeit ensemble member number 9 does have some quite cold weather in there at times. As long as the jet stream is aligned northwest to southeast, there will be cold potential. If the jet stream is aligned southwest to northeast, then it's going to be mild. You're going to pull the air up from the middle of the Atlantic. But if the jet stream is aligned northwest to southeast, and most of the ensemble members are doing that, then at the very least you have the chance of colder incursions, and that is what most of these ensemble members are showing so far. This ensemble member number 10, this one looks very stormy, and we don't get that cold weekend of the 6th and the 7th of January either. Although by the time we go through into the 8th and the 9th, we are bringing down colder air from the northwest. So it's all variations of a theme, really. The exact position of these low pressures is varying from run to run, but the same broad idea is there with this ensemble member, which is that jet stream aligned northwest to southeast, which places us on the cold side of the jet, allowing cold incursions to come into these areas of low pressure at times, and certainly produce some wintry conditions, particularly for northern parts of the country, but maybe at times further south as well. That's how we finish up on Saturday the 13th with ensemble member number 10, low pressures across the country, and we begin to pull in cold air from the north once again. That's ensemble member number 12. That one looks very unsettled and quite cold as well, as we're starting off on the 5th of January. Let's try and run through, see what happens. So this one, well, this one has a really strong polar vortex, so this is a very different one. Quite stormy to our north, which keeps us under a ridge to our south. That's very different to anything we've seen so far. It's mainly dry and starting off quite mild, probably getting a bit cold with some frost and fog, but that's a rather different solution there, ensemble member number 11. Ensemble member number 12 looks like that, so quite stormy to start off with, and then we go into the weekend of the 6th and the 7th of January, keeping it fairly unsettled. Notice a big ridge is trying to build over Scandinavia and western parts of Russia as well. We stay in this westerly flow up to the second week of January. All the time the heights are building to our north and the east. Actually, that was quite a mild one, ensemble member number 12, albeit it does have a go, getting us into a colder situation. This one looks cold and unsettled to start off with on the 5th of January. This ensemble member number 13. So this one's cold through the weekend of the 6th and the 7th of January. There is wintry potential here as this area of low pressure is coming in from off the Atlantic. It's coming into that cold air. So anywhere on the north or the east side of that low pressure could be getting snow. And then that low pressure slips away to our south and we bring more low pressure in within cold air again, keeping it really quite cold and unsettled as we're running through to the 13th of January. Finishing up with high pressure blocking around Iceland, extending to Scandinavia, and the wind turning into the east. That could bring snow to eastern parts of the country. That's a very wintry one. Ensemble member number 13. Number 14, cold and stormy to start off with. And then it looks like we keep it cold through that weekend of the 6th, 7th of January before low pressure races in from off the Atlantic, but it pulls down more cold air with it due to that jet stream being on the northwest to southeast tilt. We keep it very unsettled, this one, and eventually it gets a bit milder as well by the middle of January. Number 15 looks like that, so stormy and cold to start off with. Then we bring this low pressure in from the south. That could be bringing a snow event into southern parts of the country. We run through again stormy and cold there on the 7th of January. That could be bringing some snow into the south. And then we carry on running up into the second week of January. It's having a go at turning a bit milder, but overall the basic idea is still high pressure out to the northwest, and this area of low pressure, it'll push through and allow the cold air to come back in from the north. I have to say these ensembles do look really quite cold and wintry, most of them. Real storm there battering us on the 5th of January with ensemble member number 16. That's cold, stormy, could be bringing snow, maybe blizzards to northern parts of the country. Then we go through the weekend of 6th, 7th of January, quite unsettled. And, well, for the south, it's a little bit on the milder side. In the north, it is cold. Let's run you through into the second week of January. And the winds turn to the north, so pretty cold with this one as well. The Atlantic is having a go coming in. Of course, that's coming into cold air, so possibly some snow events with that. Finishing up quite cold with that low pressure centred to our south. Ensemble member number 17 looks very cold and stormy there to start off with on the 5th of January. And then low pressure has a go at moving in. It actually slips to our southwest. That could bring some snow to southern parts of the country. And then we keep it cold and unsettled going into the second week of January with low pressure never far away, some wintry potential in with that as well. But jet stream again, it's a line northwest to southeast, and we are on the cold side of the jet. This is ensemble member number 5. This one looks stormy and cold by the 6th of January. And then we go through into the second week of January, that low pressure diving southwards, so we remain on the cold side of the low pressure and of jet stream. That's a bit milder there. That is quite mild on the 11th of January, wet, windy and mild conditions, finishing up with generally a strong westerly flow coming in. That's one of the more milder ensemble members that we've seen, number 18. Number 19, and penultimately, we look like this on the 5th of January. Looks unsettled and quite cold. We go through to the 6th and the 7th of January, and low pressure's diving through the country there again. Northwest, southeast tilt to jet stream. Remember, is pulling that low pressure away to our east and bringing down cold air from the north. That's probably a snow event there on the 6th of January as this low pressure trying to come into that cold air, focusing the snow risk on England and Wales. With that one, and then we carry on running through, high pressure continuing to build through the country, although low pressure comes back in off the Atlantic, finishing up like that. Again, no real change. The low pressure, that low pressure there would slip southeastwards. We've got the high pressure building to our north, and the winds would turn back to the north again for the time for the middle of January. And then finally, we've got ensemble member number 20. We start off looking very stormy with this one around the 5th, 6th of January. That's a real storm there on the 6th of January. I haven't seen many ensemble members doing anything quite as dramatic as that, but suffice to say that will bring some very damaging weather as well. That low pressure gets out of the way. We pull down those cold northeasterly winds, and then after that, this one's quite different. We're pulling up some much milder air from the southwest with this one as we're running into the second week of January. That's a much milder scenario, although having said that, we finish up going back into a cold situation with the wind actually turning into the north by the 13th of January. That's one of the milder ensemble members that we've seen, but even that has some cold weather at times. Of course, it has that incredible storm just there on the 6th of January. That really does look quite dramatic, I dare say, a bit over the top. These are wintry ensemble members, which is really quite surprising because the overall situation here is Atlantic driven, with most of these ensemble members are going for a positive NAO. If you looked at the NAO's chart, based on these ensemble members, it would be positive. Most of them, I think, are going probably for a positive Arctic oscillation as well. So there's no real blocking here, and it's all Atlantic driven, but it's purely that northwest to southeast alignment of the jet stream that is producing these wintry conditions, because instead of the low pressures going on the normal path, on the normal path, which is west to east or southwest to northeast, instead of that, they're going northwest to southeast, and as the low pressures push through, they pull down the cold air behind them, and those shots of cold air are enough to turn a lot of the precipitation associated with these low pressures to snow. So there's a lot to get your teeth into there if you want wintry weather. It does look like basically what we've had through December we're going to keep into January, which is unsettled weather, but cold unsettled weather. And there's certainly more than enough ensemble members that are hinting at developments over Scandinavia as well to keep our interest going for that side of things also, because if that pressure does get going over Scandinavia, gets the winds into the east, because of the way the jet stream is behaving this year, it could be that if a high pressure was to get itself blocking over Scandinavia, it could be quite a long-lasting ridge and pull in some really quite cold easterly winds eventually. So there's a lot of interest here, I think, for the first half of January. Do keep checking back for more. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.